This is the Creative Department Podcast, a platform built to discuss creative marketing, branding, advertising, and content for industrial brands and beyond. This is our Behind the Scenes series with host Jono Saye, Creative Director at Site, and Jaden Plett, Director of Production at Site, a creative marketing agency for the industrial sector. On this Behind the Scenes episode, we break down our TV campaign work for True Level Concrete. True Level is a concrete leveling and foundation repair company. They are a leader in residential and commercial work, not just for their exceptional concrete services, but also their successful implementation of CRM systems, enhanced customer care, and sales tools. But another critical part of their success? Targeted broadcast advertising. And that's where Site comes in. On today's show, we take you through the discovery phase, concept development, pre-production, the production, post-production, and the campaign wins, right here in the Site CCAN podcast studio. Let's go behind the scenes with Jono and Jaden from the Creative Department. Well, this one's nice for me. The client is a friend that came to us, and I know a few of the members of the team as well. Two of the folks on that team, particularly the marketing lead on the team there. They're very well-established concrete repair and foundation repair company, looking to do some TV broadcasts, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, so that was one of the things that obviously attracted us, was this idea of an industrial company that wanted to do big broadcast. They came to us. We were excited about that. What for you kind of drew you to that type of opportunity?
I've mentioned this before, but I come from an advertising background in the agency space, particularly in Vancouver. And worked at a couple agencies there, had the opportunity to work on some broadcast campaigns, and that's what gets me really excited. It's my favorite type of stuff to do. So when they came to us to do a TV commercial, it's just, this is right in our wheelhouse, and we have the gear to do it at Site. We have the team to do it at Site, so I always see this as a really awesome opportunity for the team to really flex their skills that maybe our audience or our clients don't get to see super often. A lot of our clients don't do that type of advertising or video production. So, and I think they should. I think it's a really awesome opportunity to tap into that broadcast space and do bigger productions with more creative, more planning, more thought and concept that goes into it. Not that we don't put a lot of thought into everything else, but just more conceptually driven stuff that really grabs attention.
What were some of the considerations in your conversations with them about, making themselves stand out when it comes to them versus the competition?
Yeah, I'll get right into just how we got introduced to them in the first place, because they have done broadcast in the past with pretty good success. From what I've heard, it actually has moved the needle quite a bit for their business. So they came to us and they said, we want to do 2 TV ads featuring both of our services. So they had a pretty good idea of what they wanted to do already, delineating between the two, cracks and repair and foundation repair. And then we got into basically a briefing development and kind of an interview with them to figure out what they were all about.
You have to make sure that you're speaking the same language, and making sure that, for us, when we're doing the creative, we want to make sure that we're actually solving the problem that you're coming with. Otherwise, we're just throwing money and resources at something that is not going to actually hit the marks that you have.
It really works a lot better when you actually put a little bit of strategic thinking behind it. So we did that discovery call with them, extracted all the information we could. But we definitely got down to the nitty-gritty of what they really needed to say. And ultimately, it was just about awareness that we were looking for, and separating them in a market that's kind of a sea of sameness. People just want the thing fixed. They call the first person that pops up on Google. And that's a pretty dang good strategy for creative teams like us, because it just means you just need to stand out. Yeah. That means you need an interesting ad. If you're going to interrupt somebody's program that they're watching for enjoyment, you better entertain them when you interrupt them.
What was your process for coming forward with a couple different options of sort of the quirky elements that you brought to the storyboards and the creative?
The big thing for us was really trying to make sure that we communicated the special thing about this particular client. Having a very fun and interesting ad to watch, differentiating the types of services based on the types of people that would need them. So not every person's going to have a foundation issue, and not every person's going to have a cracked driveway or walkway. We threw all the must-haves, and then we packaged that up and sandwiched it with the fun part. So, and that was all about showing the problems, and then, of course, highlighting the solution and kind of creating that whole wrapper, making sure we were ticking all those boxes. And of course, the concept was really about jumping into the scene after the problem had happened, so we could have some fun with it.
The pre-production that goes in when it comes to storyboard, animatics, script, it really helps us as the production team to be able to have something that is already roughly timed out with an animatic that is put to music with the voiceover, even if it's a scratch voiceover. That really helps us to kind of narrow down what we need to shoot on the day, allows us to know what sort of lenses we're bringing, what sort of lighting we're bringing. When it comes to the pre-production, the animatic not only helps us as the production team, but it also gives the client a pretty obvious win right off the bat, saying this is pretty much what it's going to look like with real people. So I want to hear a little bit, what's the process for building the animatic, the storyboard? Why do you think that matters? And how do you think that helps us win before we even get on set?
So we actually pitched a whole bunch of stuff. And I love that part. It's one of my favorite parts. You get to kind of perform everything and read your scripts out, and in some cases we start with a scripted kind of presentation or an overall kind of just like, I call it kind of the post-it note concept pitch, where we show them just kind of a rough idea of what we're going to go for. It's not super developed, and that's on purpose, so that we can give people a bit of a general idea of where we're going, try to give them an elevator pitch of that concept, and give them a good amount of content to look at, and then we go into that more detailed development. I think in this case we actually did 3 or so more detailed pitches with storyboards and scripts, and went through a couple of rounds, which I'm all about. You really start to iron out what the concept is in that phase, and it's an enjoyable part of the process. The client gets to see what you're thinking, they get to see it grow, and they get to see what it can be. It was a bit of a tight race there at the end, which is great. I love when that happens, where you're almost kind of like, I don't know what you should take. I like both.
Yeah, totally.
Or all three. So, but yeah, that's when you get to the final. We've landed on this, and to your point about animatics, those are something that I have really considered a staple of getting into the production and the pitch. It's kind of that moment where we move from like, we've decided on it, we're developing a little bit more, so we're all like on the same page about it, but that's really where the handoff starts to happen. And I try to do a pretty detailed one where we do all the characters' voices, we do all the frames, even add some effects here and there, so people really get a good picture, not just the client, but you and your team of production folks who are going to ultimately shoot it and bring it to life.
Coming in with a plan that allows you to look for other opportunity, and gives you that freedom to be able to look just outside of the plan and maybe get something on the day that you wouldn't have even thought of in an animatic or in pre-pro, is really exciting, because a lot of that stuff that you find on the day is just the little nuggets of gold with the client or with the talent, or somebody on your team just says, hey, what if he says this? And for whatever reason that stuff sticks. That's where the fun stuff really starts to happen.
Yeah, the phrase, you learn the rules so you know how to break them, that's kind of what you're doing. You get very familiar with what you're going to go in on the day. You define the box you're supposed to operate within, and it actually gives you some freedom. And I think that for the production team like ours, we go and do a lot of very on the spot
run and gun
to a degree, but like it takes a lot of skill to do that. Having that experience and that skill set's actually super valuable as well. When I'm on those shoots and we're working together on them, I like to turn around after we've kind of done the thing I wanted the actor to do or say from the script, and just turn to you guys and say, what do you think? Would anyone want to try anything? And kind of open it up to the crowd, because I think that experience of being improvisational in the field also partners well and pairs well with actors who like to do that too. And the particular actor, Cam, shout out to Cam. We've worked with him a couple of times. He's really fun to work with.
Yeah.
Great improver. He does a great job with that, and I think he's he pairs up really well with that dynamic of the crew.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that we bring at Site that is kind of unique when it comes to more commercial productions. We bring a small but talented crew. We try and keep it lean because, number one, we think it makes the talent more comfortable, And number two, it kind of gives us opportunities to know everyone by name, really interface with the client in a way that's meaningful for them, and also gives them an experience that is a little bit more intimate and a little bit more fun. Like we say it all the time. It's like, we like to have fun around here. That's one of your classics.
Love to say it. Love to say it.
We love to say it.
Maybe too much.
That's something that I've really enjoyed in the productions that we've done that are specifically more curated. I think you do a really good job at it and turning around and saying, like, show me my blind spots. Show me, what am I missing? What's another way that we could do this? Because I think when ego gets in the way, that's when we start to lose. That's, I think, something that we've curated really well.
It was a cool opportunity for us because these spots were going to be appearing on the Vancouver Canucks games. I kept saying that. It was probably when I was coming into your office there talking to you about like, oh, we got this True Level thing. It's gonna be on the Canucks game. I kept saying that. It was just like,
that was the sell.
It was a big sell internally. I don't know why I was trying to sell everybody on it internally. It was going to be a blast.
Yeah, we were all excited.
Everybody already was excited about it. But yeah, it was just a cool production with a cool opportunity for us to get our stuff, I think, very easily seen. We did have people that were kind of in these comedic moments that had passed, and we're kind of dropping them into the scene after the accident. No actual accident has happened, obviously. So we did have to make a lot of considerations for them, making sure they were comfortable lying there for roughly 3 hours. The grocery one wasn't too hard to plan for. It was just dispersing groceries about the driveway. And we did manage to find a very cracked driveway for that one. Actually, Cody did. He did a little tour to Surrey to find that. But yeah, we actually got stuff that came together really nicely, I thought. And the door took a little bit more prep. We could talk about that. Myself and Tyler, our manager of production.
What I love is that, when we ask people to do something, we ask them because we've already done it.
Yeah.
And I think that you led really well in that. We have behind the scenes photos of Jono, like you put halfway through a door. And that was actually one of the things that took the most time was, number one, making it comfortable, but also making it so you couldn't see it. We had to wedge some sandbags in there so that our talent, when he was kind of laying in this really uncomfortable position, that he could do that for a long time. We'd always keep checking, hey, are you okay? And you just kind of hear,
good sport.
Oh, I'm okay.
He was a great sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. We got 2 doors and we broke them in 2 different ways. One we split in half. And we're like, that one will be easier to set up, and it's a little bit more believable. One of the spots, it's the foundation repair one. That was an interesting one too, actually. A bit of a challenge in the concepting phase is how do you show, a foundation repair issue that people would recognize, other than the obvious slanty thing, where an accident could happen. The tripping over a crack is a very obvious one, which is the grocery trip. That one was a little bit more obvious in how it would work, but we wanted to show another kind of accidental moment that was a little bit more hyperbolic and absurdist. But that one was actually the most fun and visually interesting one, which is the gentleman straight through the door. So we did cut out a hole in the door, and we were there with a crowbar, hacksaw. And it takes a lot of consideration to do that kind of stuff, which is why I like to be pretty involved with it. I don't really enjoy delegating that out to people, because you kind of want to, there's a lot of nuance to actually hacking up a door to make it look like somebody flew through it.
Well, and you also strategically cut out the hinges and a piece of wood door, and then we screwed that to the existing hinge to make it seem like you just blew it right off the door.
You got to do a lot to suspend your disbelief, even if it's an unbelievable thing that would never happen. Yeah. No one is diving through a door straight through the middle. I mean, you could do it. It's probably happened. Weirder things have happened in this world. But yeah, it was a fun spot. And grocery trip one was it was equally good, but just not as much logistics of getting through a door.
The logistics were tough there because it was outside. And yes. I remember for the first hour or so, we were setting up lighting, kind of getting our talent in the spot. And we kind of agonized over, like, where does the rotisserie chicken sit on the driveway? Like this kind of like haphazardly thrown food. But we had fog in and out all morning.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then we had the sun coming from directly behind the house, which we knew, but
Mhm.
because of the way the fog was coming through, it kind of just created this weird sort of particulate in the air. We were seeing breath coming out of Cam's mouth.
Yep.
You're seeing the fog and the breath come out. So we tried holding like a propane fire just below his mouth to try and remove the breath, because this is a summer spot.
Yes, it was supposed to be kind of spring, summer, and it definitely wasn't spring, summer at the time.
No.
Let's definitely talk about the contrast of those two shoots, because we have shot a lot outside as a company all the time, which is totally fine. Like, we don't generally have to control anything. It's kind of nice to have those environmental factors. It is always a very planning intensive thing to shoot outdoors, especially for a shot like this. And I think you achieved an excellent look and feel across both. It was extremely consistent from framing to lighting. Everything had exactly the look that we were both hoping for, and I was very impressed with it. We've learned a lot by doing spot after spot after spot outside, because we do these types of spots semi-regularly. It's not something we're not used to. But yeah, speak to the challenges of that versus the indoor shoot, which did have its own setup as well.
Yeah, I mean, weather is always the toughest thing. If you have a cloudy day and it's consistently cloudy, it's the easiest that you can modify. On a sunny day, particularly if it's foggy in and out and the fog is burning off and coming back, it's like one of the toughest types of lighting you can work with.
Yeah.
Naturally, the sun moves one direction. You're always pivoting your modification to try and match it. And then you have trees. We had this massive tree just to the left of our set. Kind of by the end of the shoot, the sun was starting to kind of tickle through the tree, and we had to block it in various ways with different flags and stuff. We wanted to use sunlight because it's there and it's the most powerful light you can use, especially when you have a wide shot like that. Like, you can't really, besides digitally removing your lights, you just have to have them out of your frame. And when it's that wide of a frame, you just blast as much light as you can. The wide shots were shot at like 9:30 or 10, and the mediums were shot at 1. So the lighting had significantly changed. The sun had significantly changed.
Yeah.
So the reason why you do that is so that you light for the wide. You make sure the hardest part, the widest shot, is done first, generally. And then you start to move all your package in, because as you get tighter and tighter, you won't be able to see where we start to modify, whether that's bouncing light back in, whether that's taking light away with a negative fill, which is just a black sheet. The whole goal is to try and emulate the same thing the whole way through, because it really takes you out when you can tell that the lighting has changed from one side to the other between like the medium and the tight shot. We knew where the sun was going to be. We knew roughly when we wanted to be done the shoot, so we knew worst case scenario, if we run along, the sun will be here. We have enough scrim and diffusion to be able to either diffuse the sun or flip and bounce the sun back towards the talent. You're just trying to get the shot as fast as you can, make sure that you get the proper delivery while also maintaining the integrity of the shot you got in the wide. So there's an element of stress to it, but that's part of the fun.
I think we've struck a really good balance with a solid crew of folks, especially on that shoot, where everybody was in the right spot, wearing the right hats, so that I can focus on what the talent's doing, which is an important part. You can catch what's going on with lighting and framing and everything, and making sure everything's consistent, so I don't have to worry about that. Tyler and Connor, shout out to both of them, who are doing an awesome job of moving things real quick. Like I said, wearing all those hats, and it really was an excellent shoot for a crew of that size.
Yeah, and just to shout out Tyler and Connor a little bit more, like Tyler gaffed most of that, so we had our camera was feeding directly to a monitor for him, so he could always be double checking consistency and lighting. He was largely the one that was moving lights around in the background, so I could stay kind of focused on what was in frame. And then Connor was holding it down with audio in multiple different areas, whether that was a boom mic or hiding a lav mic on the talent because we couldn't get a microphone close enough for the shot. I think there's something beautiful about a small team like that, where you have only 3 or 4 voices in the room that are saying, we need to do this at this point, let's do it. We do that, we move on.
So outdoor lighting's challenging. We know that very well. But indoor lighting, so we had a pretty good, solid location to work with.
Really good.
Lots of space in a house, which is also nice. What was it like lighting that environment? Because lots of control, and that's what you were really looking for.
We got our shot up and we made sure that none of the windows were going to be in shot. We just put negative fill and duvetine across all the windows to entirely remove any of the sun. And then we started kind of playing around with, okay, where would the lights generally be in this room? Largely they would be top lights. So we started to play with bouncing lights off the ceiling to bounce that light down as if that light was coming from a regular kind of tungsten-y type of light. The larger the source, the softer it is. So you're kind of balancing wanting it to look natural, but also wanting your talent to look good. And that's kind of the classic cinematography thing that you're always balancing is if it looks too airbrushed and too pretty, it feels like a studio set, which was not necessarily what we were going for this time. There are scenarios, there's a lot of scenarios where you kind of want that high key kind of airbrushed sort of look. But we wanted it to feel really lived in because we wanted people to feel like this could be their house. We lit for the wide to start. It's funny in the behind the scenes photos, you can just see people crammed up against the walls away to make sure that our widest shot didn't have anybody in it. And then as we started to kind of move in, people are standing just out of frame. Our boom mic is like just outside of the frame. We're using tube lights to emulate some of the different backlights and the lamps that we used. You just have way more ability to create a 3D image by backlighting, by cross lighting, by top lighting. Actually, you can even see it in this video as you're watching it. You get a bit of a ring around the back of your head. It separates you from the background. Everybody look at Jono right now. You can see on the right side of his face, he's got a little bit of a line, a bit of hair that pops off the screen a little bit. And that takes him from disappearing into the background. He stops disappearing into the background and he pops right off the screen. So that's
I'm popping.
Yeah.
Right now, as we speak.
John will be popping.
And that hair, it's an intentional hair.
Yeah,
right?
that one that's sticking out right there.
Yeah, just the one, the alfalfa. We love a good pop. We like to say the word pop for all sorts of things, whether it's a color pop on a logo. I'm kidding. Don't say pop, folks. I thought that both achieved a very consistent, stylized look and feel. It had that polish to it, but it had that same kind of lived-in feel, which I think paired well with even the B-roll, which was a lot more kind of an authentic handheld break in the style, so that it was really the guys working on jobs. The whole idea was the truth hurts kind of thing. So in the end, we really wanted to convey that in this stylized format, that if you neglect your issues, the truth hurts. And I thought that Cam did a really good job of delivering that establishing line.
Sometimes the truth hurts.
And the truth part of that line is kind of a subtle, nod to the name as well in True Level. So with the look and feel and that line speaking to the truth and the hurt that it can cause if you neglect your foundation and or your cracked concrete, legitimate accidents that can happen, you will pay the price for it. But you can also pay a reasonable price to have it repaired and avoid these situations. So altogether, stylistically, I think that even kind of having that Wes Anderson framing, hopping into the scene mid-problem and mid-disaster, or post-disaster rather, and delivering that line was I think it really accomplished kind of a very nice marriage of script and art direction and ultimately lighting and aesthetic.
There's an element there that I really love in the way that you chose to frame it. You isolate the character in the first frame. The truth hurts sometimes. And then you cut to the wide, revealing the problem. You could have easily just, played it safe and just started on the wide. But there's a gag right there that's just visual. What was it that sort of like drew you to isolate and then reveal as opposed to reveal? There's a comedic bit there, and I'm curious on your
Yeah, well, that leads nicely into kind of the post-production side of things, because that's what we ultimately we had that discussion in the edit after it was the first cut came out, and there was a discussion of do we start wide or we start close, and that also leads back to the animatic. I had played with that quite a bit in the animatic, and the comedy really comes through in the delayed reveal.
Yeah.
And just having that kind of, you also get that kind of cheeky expression out of the actor in that scenario, and we get to play with that, right? So you start in, and it's sort of it's a very straight into the camera line, create a little bit of suspense. What are we here? What are we watching? Why is he saying the truth hurts? And of course it's a 30, so you jump in pretty quick, but you just get that kind of shock factor, and especially with the door, you really get it. With John, was it? We named him John in the end. Yes, Jim would have been good. But with his butt hanging out the door and his head and torso under it, all woven in there. And then we got into the button at the end with the last minute improv kind of signing off the spot, where he was playing around, and we had pre-written lines for that, but I've always really enjoyed just writing in, our favorite line, a couple alts that they say, and then when you get an improv actor like that, they can start to play around with it, and everyone can kind of like throw a line, get a couple different variations, play with the inflection. You get to find yours. And once we got into post-production, that was the fun part, as I remember with both of them. It was so fascinating how every different take really gave it a different flavor, whether it was the true to script deliveries with, just different inflections, or completely different improv lines. And I just remember saying, like, hey, here's 15 versions. I'm sorry, but I kind of want you to choose with this. I generally don't give that many versions, and usually I would make a recommendation. But it was such a fun shoot, and they did such everything kind of turned out so fun, and I was just like, you guys decide. I think you got a good list of options here, and I think they felt the same way. That's the joy of working on spots like that. It's just not rigid. It has its structure, but you get to play.
Yeah.
So, and I think that that was across the board. You got to play with framing, lighting, style. We got to play with line deliveries, scripting. And again, I think Cody, the client, also was throwing out some lines there too. He's got a great sense of humor, so we were all having a good time, having some laughs.
Yeah, it's that collaborative process with a small group of people that all want to be there and that all want to have a final product that they're all really proud of. Like, that's why we all get up and we go to work every day. Make sure we love it.
It's cool to see your work out there when you can kind of just stumble across it, and a lot of people would be watching it at the same time. I will say, unfortunately, folks, I did go to a restaurant that was playing the Canucks game, and I did think they were going to play it, and they didn't. So I never got to see it actually on the TV.
I didn't either.
Which is making me shed tears now. But it's okay. I'll be all right. Did you see it on TV?
I didn't.
I think we're the only people in the company who didn't.
That's because we were working on what was next.
Yeah, we were all
too busy.
working. Yeah, we had stuff to do. So for you in the post-production phase, what were some favorite things for you to kind of highlight? Well, just let's include the whole production. What were your favorite things about working on projects like this?
Yeah, I mean, I think as our team has grown and as we've gotten, more effective in this type of work, the thing that I'm most proud of is just how everybody has sort of started to find their lane, and we don't really have people that are that's not my job type of people. There's a level of collaboration and humility that you need when you have a small team like we do, and number two, when you're trying to achieve sort of larger than life productions that would usually be done by a much larger crew. I think it's been really cool seeing people put into the positions where their skill can really shine, seeing everybody come together under this united vision of, we're going to leave everything on the table today. We're going to go, we're going to do it right, and we're going to have fun in the process. We're going to create an experience for the client that will last longer than just the 30-second spot that we have. They'll be able to look back at this season and say, hey, that day was actually really fun too. The more we do it, the more dialed in we get, and I think that just speaks to the skill of the team and the willingness to fail boldly when we fail, and to celebrate the wins when we win. And honestly, the failures become less and less and less the more we practice and the more we work together. I just think that we are positioned to continue to do these better every time. And they're always the funnest ones. They're the ones that we're the most excited about.
They're a good time. They always are. That's why I love doing them. I do want to talk about this as well. The gear.
Yeah.
The red camera. We got to mention red.
Yes.
Because red's kind of cool.
We used the red Komodo X on this shoot. We knew we wanted to shoot in 6K resolution so that we had the opportunity and the option to scale in or scale out depending on what we needed. For this particular shoot, we didn't have any sort of like motion, digital motion. Everything was locked off on sticks. We knew that if we wanted to reframe something, move it slightly one way or the other, if we couldn't get the perfect, horizontal framing or vertical framing that we wanted on the day, we had some latitude to move in and out. We shot on DZO Vespid prime lenses, which are really nice cinema grade lenses that are very fast in aperture. It allowed us to really separate our talent from the background when we needed to, but also just has a really nice sort of filmic quality to them that you just don't get in, kind of standard consumer telephoto lenses.
Yeah.
And then we also used a really nice telecom system that's done by Hollyland, and it just allowed us, especially for the outdoor shoot, if Connor's hiding behind the bush with a boom pole, instead of us yelling at him, you can just kind of pull your headset down, whisper to him, he makes an adjustment, we pull it back up.
We can yell at him through the headset.
Right.
Yeah.
We can burn his ears out.
Exactly.
Yeah, and having a monitor there too for Cody and his team to be able to kind of watch with you, it kind of gave you your own little video village.
Yep.
It kind of gave them a spot where they could sit, provide notes, run a couple more tests on it. Like, the goal is to create a good customer experience. And the more that we do this, the more that we provide little touch points like that for the client to enjoy the day, the more we win, the more fun we can have.
Yeah, those headsets are great. Especially when I forget to flip it up and everyone can just hear me breathing.
Oh, yes. We did. That's right. This awesome take and like Cam is performing and we just hear.
And then I hear, Jono, do you mind flipping up your microphone, please? Like, oh, of course, yes. It's all great gear. It's all coming together. It's and Video Village makes a big difference.
Yeah.
It's nice. I still love to sneak in and just slowly start looking over your shoulder at the smaller monitor for no good reason.
Yeah.
Other than it does have a nicer LUT on it. But the Video Village is super helpful for everybody to be able to see everything, and the mic setup, just great.
Well, and we've really loved using aperture lights too. I mean, the ability to control them all from one iPad, instead of running over and changing knobs. Like, again, we're continuing to refine our processes just to be able to be 5, 10, 12%, 15% more efficient. It gives us the freedom to focus on the creative rather than the technical. And the more we continue to refine that and dial that in, the better it's going to be. Yeah,
efficiency's come a long way with us. And all that stuff is what makes us able to operate as a small team super effectively, I think. It's very seamless. I mentioned this the last time on the last podcast, but that iPad setup for the I wish it was an iPod Classic.
Nano. Oh,
it kind of feels
classic.
like something you would use for a lighting dial.
Very tactile.
But yes, exactly. I have one, by the way.
Really?
Oh yeah.
A Nano or Classic?
It's a Classic.
Well, how many gigs did it have?
120. It was a good one.
Cream of cream.
Yeah, great iPod. But back to the production. It really does streamline the process. It makes things very functional when we have a small crew of people. Even into the post-production side of things, like the problem solving, the tools that we're using are making the jobs a lot more efficient and easier. And even we mentioned the breath earlier. Ultimately, what we did was just we took we just froze the torso because he wasn't moving very much.
Right.
And the breath was going down on the black shirt, which was causing a high contrast. We just froze a shot of the shirt with him not where he wasn't breathing. Just did a freeze frame, and then all that breath was no problem.
You'd never know.
The little things you do, right? You just the problems you solve. We thought it was going to be a big deal. It's totally not noticeable in the spot anymore. And everything just kind of came together.
Just kind of comes back to all the things that clients don't know, and people that watch the final spot don't know what you're either removing, augmenting, or just being strategic about how you lean into it.
Yeah,
you get to make a lot of those creative decisions on the day, but having the flexibility in post to play around with it. Especially we shot in RAW too, so we could change a lot of our settings after the fact if we decided we wanted to.
And we do a lot of that stuff. We really do a lot of cleanup, and it's not like, you know, we're Industrial Light and Magic out here, you know, replacing entire backgrounds and landscapes and stuff like that. But I feel like that's definitely coming, you know, like we do have a lot of capabilities here, and we see those things in camera. We make those decisions while they're on camera, but we also kind of we can prepare to make changes in post-production, and we do a lot of that.
Here's an example of that right now. If you look there, and there, we're hiding a lot of things from you.
It's all
magic.
Magic. Yeah, this is the type of projects that I think we're lucky to get to do. Which is why whenever I get a call that, from somebody who's like, you're going to do it, we want to do a TV broadcast ad or do something that's, you know, kind of in that advertising format, I'm always like, yes, this is going to be a great time. And I don't know if a lot of people know that we have that skill set, and I think that the industrial sector in particular could really benefit from it in some cases. Obviously, this is a consumer based company. They have, you know, the general public buys their service, so it's not for every client to go doing broadcast TV. But, you know, traditional forms of advertising, big industrial brands do it. And I think it has its place and it has its value. With the right strategy behind it, it's the right choice. And if anything, a competitive advantage. You kind of have to pinch yourself a little bit sometimes. I'm like, I can't believe this is a job. Sometimes like we're so fortunate to be able to do this kind of stuff, and it also has a lot of value. It's almost like, you know, you're pinching yourself, but you're like, lots of companies should be doing this kind of stuff. It really does change the game for a lot of them. And I think True Level, I always, when they said that broadcast moved the needle for them a noticeable amount, I was like, awesome, cool. And your competitors probably don't even know that. And they're not even thinking of investing in that area. And it's just advertising is your advantage, and marketing effectively with a good strategy and a well-identified unique offering. And it's something to be proud of, this particular shoot too, like what you mentioned about our team. You know, we had Tyler, we had Connor, we had Michaela, who was managing it, and then we had Alex, who was working on some of the post-production as well. A good amount of it. I helped out on some areas, but he's bringing really creative solutions to the table. There's some new tools that we're using that got implemented into this spot from a post-production perspective that he was using. It's just exciting to see this stuff come together and see this team really blending and meshing, and it's just a well-oiled machine. And like I said, it comes from that experience of being I guess kind of run and gun. I don't know what term to give it. I want to give it a positive term.
I like documentarian.
Yeah, you know, it's
you don't know what you're gonna see until you see it, and then you capture it.
Yeah,
right?
It's scrappy, it's run and gun, but the people behind the camera are in control and they know what they're doing, and that translates very well to structured. And I think that I'm super proud to see our team build that skill set, transition it into all sorts of varieties of creative production to what I would say is great success, and what a team. Hey, that was episode number 2 featuring True Level. What an exciting project. Why don't we say it? That's another episode of the Creative Department.
In the can. Nice. We'll get better.
We're always just going to have to chuckle at the end.
Yeah.
It's going to come across as professional, and then we're just going to be like, at the very end, it feels right, but it doesn't.